It was supposed to be the happiest week of my life. My son Ethan had just finished drawing a picture of me in a white dress walking toward my fiancé, Liam. He'd used every crayon in the box, and it was tacked proudly on the fridge. The real dress, an ivory lace dream with a soft train I had saved for over a year to buy, was hanging safely in my closet. The venue, a charming old barn with fairy lights promised for the rafters, had been booked a year ago. Liam had already perfected his vows. I'd caught him whispering them to his reflection in the bathroom mirror last night, a shy, happy smile on his face. I was in the kitchen, a phone pressed to my ear, confirming the final dessert choices with the caterer chocolate lava cakes, my favorite, when the front door opened and my parents walked in. The air in the room instantly grew cold. My dad's face was a blotchy red, his lips pulled into a line so thin they almost disappeared. My mother followed a step behind him, her arms crossed tight against her chest, her eyes gleaming with that special kind of cruel light she saved for moments when she was about to break me. "Hang up," Dad barked, his voice like gravel. I froze, the pen hovering over the menu checklist. "What? Why?" "I'm just finalizing the cake." "Because," my mother cut in, her voice dripping with a sickly sweet poison, "there is no wedding." The floor seemed to drop out from under me. The cheerful voice of the caterer on the phone faded into a meaningless buzz. "What are you talking about?" I whispered, my own voice sounding distant and strange. My dad slapped a thick folder onto the kitchen counter. It was my wedding binder, the one I had so carefully organized with every receipt, every invoice, every signed contract. He shelved it toward me with a single, contemptuous finger. "We're not paying for this circus," he said, a nasty smile twisting his lips. "It's over." A frantic, nervous laugh escaped my throat. This had to be a joke, a sick, twisted, terrible joke. "Dad, stop it. Everything is already booked and paid for. The deposits are non-refundable." "We pulled them," Mom said, her tone clipped and final. "We called every single vendor this morning. We canceled the whole thing." My throat closed up. I couldn't get enough air. "You, ... what?" Dad leaned in closer, his breath hot and smelling of bitter coffee. "You should be grateful we even let this ridiculous fantasy go on for so long. A charity case like you doesn't deserve a big stage to play dress-up on. You really think we're going to waste our hard-earned money just so you can pretend to be a real bride for a day? Not a chance." My mother let out a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. "You, in a white wedding dress? Oh, please." People would laugh themselves sick. "It's better to end the embarrassment now before you make a complete fool of yourself in front of everyone we know." I felt my knees start to buckle, the strength draining out of my legs. My chest felt hollow, as if they had reached inside and scooped everything out. "How could you?" The words were barely a whisper. "How could you do this to me?" Right on cue, as if she had been waiting in the wings for her moment, my sister, Rachel, sauntered into the kitchen. Her timing was always impeccable whenever there was a chance to see me bleed. She shot a look at the messy folder on the counter, then at my pale face, and a smug smirk spread across her lips. "Guess the big show's canceled. Should have known they'd never waste real money on you." "Shut up, Rachel," I snapped, my voice cracking with unshed tears. Her smirk only widened. "Don't take it so personally. It's not like anyone important was actually going to show up anyway. Who would want to watch you stumble down the aisle? You're a supporting character in your own life, sweetie." My mother cackled, slapping the counter. For emphasis, "She's right. If we had let this farce continue, it would have been utterly humiliating for the whole family. Nobody wants to see trash pretending to be treasure. We saved you from being the laughingstock of the town." The irony was so thick it was suffocating. They weren't saving me from laughter. They were bathing in it, right here, right now, at my expense, at the expense of my dreams, my happiness, my love for Liam. Dad's voice dropped to a low, cruel growl. "Be thankful we even bothered to raise you. Now sit down, shut your mouth, and stop acting like you deserve anything more than the scraps we decide to throw you. You are not special. You never were." The phone finally slipped from my numb fingers, clattering onto the counter. The planner's muffled voice chattered on for a moment before the line went dead. My vision blurred as their combined laughter rose into a terrible chorus, with Rachel actually clapping her hands as if she were watching a comedy show. I stumbled backward, away from them, away from their poisonous joy, and fled to my room. I slammed the door and slid down against it, my body shaking with violent, silent sobs. My chest heaved and my stomach churned until I thought I would be sick right there, on the floor. From its hanger in the closet. The beautiful ivory dress seemed to stare at me, a ghostly monument to a future that had just been murdered. The neat stack of invitations on my dresser suddenly looked like a pile of lies. An hour later, a gentle knock came at the door. "Honey, it's me." Liam's soft voice came through the wood. "Can I come in?" I couldn't form the words to answer. I could only manage to unlock the door before collapsing into his arms as soon as he stepped inside. The whole story came pouring out in a torrent of tears and broken sentences. He held me tight against his chest, stroking my hair and whispering, "We'll figure this out. I love you. We'll figure this out, I promise." But as he held me, a storm began to rage inside my mind. They thought they could just erase my life with a few phone calls. They thought they could spit in my face, laugh while I cried, and just walk away without any consequences. For my entire life, I had bent and broken under their cruelty. But not this time. No, this time I wasn't just going to survive. I was going to make them regret the day they were ever born. The next morning, the house still felt heavy with the stale scent of their triumph. I couldn't even open my closet door. The image of the dress hanging there, useless and beautiful, was too much to bear. It was a symbol of everything they had taken from me. Liam sat on the edge of the bed, his brow furrowed with worry, his hands clasped tightly together. "We could still get married," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "We can go to the courthouse. We don't need their money. We just need us." I wanted to believe him. I truly did. But I pictured the humiliation. Calling all our friends and family, explaining that the dream wedding was off. My parents had planned this perfectly. The damage wasn't just about money. It was about shame. They wanted to strip me of my dignity, piece by piece, until nothing was left. "No," I whispered, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "That's exactly what they want. For me to come crawling back, or to settle for something small and hidden away. They want to watch me choke on my own failure." Liam looked at me, his eyes dark with an anger that matched my own, but softened by his deep love for me. "Then don't give them the satisfaction," he said, his voice hardening. "Don't choke. Make them choke instead." Those words ignited something deep inside me, a tiny, dangerous spark that quickly grew into a roaring flame. Later that afternoon, while my parents were laughing loudly at some show in the living room, and Rachel was busy posting selfies with captions like, "Drama-free zone," #blessed, I slipped quietly into my father's home office. After years of being the family scapegoat, I knew where all their secrets were buried. I knew which drawer in the heavy mahogany desk was the one that stuck, and I knew that was where he kept the important papers he didn't want my mother to see. I pulled it open, and there it was. Not a portfolio of success, but a graveyard of failures. Overdue mortgage notices stamped with angry red ink, final demand letters from credit card companies. A formal notice of foreclosure proceedings. They weren't powerful tyrants living in a castle. They were frauds, drowning in debt and barely keeping their heads above water. And they had dared, to call my future a waste of money. My hands shook, not with fear, but with a surge of adrenaline. I took out my phone and carefully, silently, photographed every single page. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just seeing their cruelty. I was seeing their weaknesses. Over the next week, I became the world's best actress. I didn't cry, I didn't argue. I didn't even flinch when they made snide remarks about my failed wedding. I just smiled, a small, sad smile. I nodded. I made myself small. I let them believe they had finally broken me for good. But while they were basking in their victory, I was moving my pieces across the board. I called all the canceled vendors myself. I didn't argue or beg. I simply asked them to confirm the reason for cancellation my parents had given. The story was always the same. "Your parents said you were financially unstable and couldn't pay your bills." One of them told me, their voice laced with pity. My cheeks burned with shame, but I calmly wrote down every word. It was all evidence. One evening, Rachel carelessly left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to get a snack. It lit up with a notification from a group chat with her friends. My eyes darted to the screen. She had sent them a photo she must have snuck of my wedding dress hanging in my closet. The caption underneath read, "Still hanging there like she thinks she's Cinderella, more like the sad little maid, LOL. Below it, a long stream of laughing emojis from her friends. A cold.com rage washed over me. I picked up the phone, took a clear screenshot of the entire conversation. and put it back exactly where I found it. Every screenshot, every recorded conversation, every photographed bill was a brick. And I was building an arsenal. At night, Liam and I would talk in hushed whispers. "What if they find out what you're doing?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "They won't," I said, my eyes fixed on my laptop screen where I was organizing all the files. "Their biggest mistake has always been underestimating me. They see me as weak and stupid. They'll never, ever believe I have the guts to fight back." And I was going to fight back. Not just to get even. I was going to systematically dismantle the illusion of their perfect lives. I was going to make them feel the same crushing humiliation they had forced on me. I was going to watch the smugness drain from their faces like water from a sieve. The day that was supposed to have been my wedding day arrived. There was no white dress or happy tears. Instead, the house was filled with the sounds of a party. My parents, in a final act of supreme cruelty, had thrown a large family dinner, inviting relatives, neighbors, and all of Rachel's friends. It was a celebration of my defeat, a public gloating session designed to cement their victory. I stood in the hallway with Liam, my hand in his. My heart was pounding against my ribs, but my hands were perfectly steady. They thought I was beaten. They were about to find out how wrong they were. My dad tapped his fork against his wineglass, a wide, self-satisfied smirk on his face as he addressed the crowded dining room. "As you all know," he boomed, "we recently had to make a tough decision regarding a certain ... event. But sometimes, parents just know best. We simply weren't about to let good money be wasted on a circus. A circus built on debt and cruelty." "You mean," I said, stepping into the doorway of the dining room. The room fell dead silent. Every single head turned to face me. I saw the smug smiles on my parents' faces falter. "Funny you should mention a circus," I continued, holding up my phone, because I brought a little slideshow for everyone to enjoy. I tapped the screen. The large smart TV in the corner of the room, which they had been using to show a slideshow of family photos, flickered and changed. The first image appeared. A bright red, overdue mortgage statement for their house. A collective gasp went through the room. Slide after slide appeared. Unpaid credit card bills with staggering balances. Collection notices, and finally, the official foreclosure warning. My mother's face went as white as a sheet. My father's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no sound came out. "This is the real circus," I said, my voice ringing out, sharp and clear in the silent room. "The big, beautiful house you brag about to everyone. It's days away from being repossessed. The lavish lifestyle you pretend to have. It's built on a mountain of lies. And you had the nerve to call my wedding a waste of money?" Rachel jumped up from her chair, her face flushed with rage. "Turn it off. Turn it off right now," she shrieked. I ignored her. The next slide appeared on the screen. The screenshot of her group chat, her cruel words about me being a maid, and the rows of laughing emojis from her friends were now 10 feet tall for everyone to see. The gasps in the room turned to angry murmurs. I saw some of her friends shrink down in their seats, their faces burning with shame. My mother stumbled forward. "You're trying to humiliate us," she cried, her voice trembling. "No," I said, cutting her off with a single word. "You did that to yourselves. You did it when you called my dream a circus. You did it when you laughed in my face while my heart was breaking. And you did it in front of my son." On cue, little Ethan, who had been standing just behind me with Liam, stepped forward. In his small, clear voice, he looked straight at my parents and said, "Grandma, Grandpa, you hurt my mom." That one simple sentence shattered the last bit of their composure. The silence that followed was suffocating. My father, the big booming man who had terrorized me my whole life, finally dropped his gaze to the floor, utterly defeated. My mother clutched her wineglass so tightly, I thought it would shatter. Rachel sank back into her chair, silent tears of pure fury and humiliation streaming down her face, leaving black mascara tracks behind. The whispers started. "So that's the truth of it," one neighbor muttered. Another shook her head, glaring at my parents with open disgust. Their carefully constructed empire of lies and fake respect had crumbled to dust in less than 5 minutes. I took a deep, cleansing breath, feeling years of pain and oppression lift from my shoulders. "You wanted me broken," I said, my voice steady and strong. "You wanted me to crawl. But now, everyone in this room sees you for exactly what you are." I took Liam's hand in one of mine and Ethan's in the other, and we turned toward the door. Enjoy your party, I said, my voice cold as ice. We're leaving. As we walked out, the guests parted for us like the Red Sea. Behind us, I heard the sounds of their world collapsing, my mother finally breaking into a hysterical sob, my father letting out a strangled roar of rage, and the shouting that signaled the real circus was just beginning. We stepped out into the cool night air, leaving the house and its wreckage behind us. The air had never tasted so sweet. Mom, Ethan whispered, looking up at me, are they going to be okay? I looked down at his innocent face and managed a real, genuine smile. That's not our problem anymore, sweetie, I said, squeezing his hand. We're free. And for the first time in my entire life, I didn't feel like the girl who lost everything. I felt like the woman who had finally won. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.